Hi, I'm gonna just found this video from Jesus and Mary that I wanted to share. Just have like the title of it up here across the screen. I have a little a link right here that I can actually add to it, but I thought I would take this talk where he's discussing humility and compare it to Bill Wilson's experience. And I ran it through an AI program, and this is kind of what I came up with comparing the two, and it's pretty doggone spot on. So this is what I come up with. Humility is the key. It is not acceptance. I layered Bill Wilson's experience of the complete and utter smashed ego, the complete humility. Does this explain his spiritual experience because his feelings came completely open? What this discussion is really describing is at its core, this interview defines humility as the passionate desire to feel and experience all of my own emotions without controlling or manipulating anything. It outlines three stages. The facade. First, we pretty much live in the facade. We do a lot of things to manage our image. We have fear of how others see us. We have control, we have pride, and we have resistance to the truth, which we don't exactly know what the truth is. Beyond the facade, a little deeper, is our injured self. We have awareness of pain, we have a willingness to feel it, and we're no longer hiding. And below that is our real self. Well, we are not self-conscious, we are not defensive, and we have complete emotional openness. Bill Wilson's breaking point, the AA story. When Bill Wilson finally collapses in Towns Hospital, he says, paraphrased, if there is a God, let him show himself. I am ready to do anything. This is not theological. It is not intellectual. It is exactly what the text describes. The complete collapse of the facade, entry into his injured self, and total emotional exposure. When I overlaid it with this video talking about humility, line by line alignment is what it discovered. A, we live in facade, filtering every emotion. This is Bill Wilson before surrender. Chronic alcoholism, control attempts, self-will, reputation cycles. In AA language, it was self-centered fear and running the show. The injured self, allowing ourselves to feel without judgment. He was crying like a baby, no facade, just pure emotion and no controlling. This is the exact moment in the hospital. Despair, failure, terror. He had no more solutions. He stops managing his emotions. He stops defending himself. This is humility beginning. Humility is the doorway to truth. Without it, truth cannot enter. Now the critical overlap. Bill didn't find God. He became open enough to receive. That aligns precisely with what is said in the video. To hear God, you must be in a very, very humble place, open emotionally. God's language is emotions and feelings. Most people only become humble in crisis. This is almost a direct commentary on AA origin stories. Collapse, hospitalization, loss, desperation. In the interview, they even say Humility is often the last resort when everything else has failed. That is step one. We admitted we were powerless. The exact moment of intersection. Here's the clean overlay. This discussion, the facade collapses, the injured self is fully felt. No more self-management, emotional openness, humility opens to truth. For Bill Wilson, alcohol destroyed his control. He had total despair in the hospital. He said he was ready to do anything. He cried in surrender. And that's when he had his spiritual experience. What exactly happened? What actually happened internally? This is the key insight that most people miss. Bill's breakthrough was not belief, it was not theology, it was not effort. It was the end of resistance to reality, which matches the line in the video. We must be willing to be the injured person that we are. Why the experience felt supernatural? From the framework in the text, when humility reaches a threshold, emotional defenses drop, perception shifts, truth can enter. So, what Bill describes as light, presence, peace can be understood as the sudden removal of internal blockage, the most powerful alignment. This line from the text is the closest direct match. When everything else fails, that's when people are humble. And humility is the doorway to divine truth, to God. That is Bill Wilson's entire transformation in 2 sentences. Shall I read that again? When everything else fails, that's when people are humble. Humility is the doorway to divine truth, to God. Final synthesis. This is the core insight. Bill Wilson did not find God. He stopped controlling. He stopped pretending. He stopped resisting. He allowed himself to feel fully. In that moment, humility replaced self-will. According to this discussion, that is the only condition under which truth, or God, can be received. Why this matters. Bill Wilson's experience was not a random event, a random miracle, an isolated event, but as a universal pattern of human transformation, a repeatable structure of surrender, a psychological spiritual law. Now I found a second video here that he discusses resistance to feeling, which we are taught to control our feelings and don't lose control. He speaks about how to lessen spirit influence, which is where self-hatred and self-deception comes from. When you have those thoughts rolling around in your head, they're actually not thoughts that you are having. They are thoughts that are being given to you. And when you accept them, they keep giving you more. Huh. Okay. So anyway, the key diagnosis, you want truth and growth, but simultaneously you resist certain emotions, especially painful ones like grief and sadness. This creates an internal contradiction. Honesty about resistance. This particular emotion is in me and I don't want to have it. Critical teaching here is growth does not begin with forcing emotion. It begins with admitting you don't want to feel it. Being honest about resistance is the first step. Mechanism of spirit influence. What they hook into is not random. They connect to avoidance, denial, fear of emotion. Every time You don't want to deal with a particular emotion, they connect with you about that. Functional description. They identify emotional weak points. They reinforce your avoidance. They increase frustration and self-attack. They push you away from emotional work. The amplification effect. They don't create the issue. They magnify what is already present. The root cause is always internal resistance. The emotional layers system. This is one of the most important teachings in this talk. Layer hierarchy from deepest to surface. Grief is the core causal emotion. Second is fear. Third is anger. Fourth is rage. Fifth is hatred, including self-hatred. Hatred covers over rage, covers over anger, covers over fear, covers over grief. So if you never get to past those first four and you never get to the grief, you'll never be free. Key insight. The higher the layer, the further from the truth, the more denial. So, hatred equals maximum distance from grief. Function of the layers. Each layer exists to avoid the one below it. Example, hatred avoids rage. Rage avoids anger. Anger avoids fear, and fear avoids grief. Self-hatred as a defense. Not the root emotion. It is not primary. It is a constructed avoidance emotion. You feel it's better to feel self-hatred than grief. Why it exists? Because grief feels more painful than self-attack. So the system chooses self-hatred instead of grief. The result? Blocks healing completely, keeps you at surface level. Blockages. This is a critical concept. What a blockage is: a belief or fear that prevents access to a deeper emotion. Examples: I'm not allowed to feel rage. Rage is not spiritual. I might lose control. These block access to deeper layers. Core instruction: focus on the blockage. The underlying emotion will become present. Focusing on the blockage would be, I'm not allowed to feel rage. Rage is not spiritual. I might lose control. So if you focus on those and ask God to help you with those, I think they could be, I don't know, cooled off, diminished, shrunken. I'm not sure. Process of healing, not linear control. You do not force sequence rage, anger, fear, grief. Instead, you follow what arises naturally. The law of attraction principle. The next blockage emotion will surface automatically. Your role is to focus on what is present now. Core direction. All I need to do is feel my grief. Everything else dissolves as grief is accessed. Social and relational pressure. Others reinforce avoidance. Family discourages change. Group pressure increases resistance. Others project their own fears. Mechanism. Others hook into your emotional vulnerabilities. They reinforce your avoidance patterns. Lesson: you must be willing to feel your emotions, regardless of others' reactions. Two emotional orientations. Introverted processing, where anger and rage is turned inward, results in self-hatred. Extroverted processing, anger and rage are directed outward and blame towards others. Key point. Both are avoidance of grief. See, you have two choices there, but the third choice, feeling your grief, isn't even there because that's where God steps in to help. Personal responsibility. Everything returns to self. Influence exists, pressure exists, but the hook is always internal. The required shift from blaming influence, focusing on others, to identifying internal resistance, feeling avoided emotions. Final core instruction. The entire talk reduces to this. Identify what you don't want to feel. Admit you don't want to feel it. Examine the blockage preventing it. Allow the deeper emotions, especially grief. Let the process unfold naturally. Clean summary, one line. All disturbance, internal or external, operates through your resistance to feeling grief. Remove the resistance, and the entire system collapses. Oh, thanks for listening. Can I find how to turn this off now? I don't know. I thought it was pretty good. I've been sitting here studying Jesus and Mary's videos here for about a year, and I'm getting so much out of them. And I will, there we go. Oh, I found where I can do it. And I'm just really glad that you